Salesforce updated their Agentforce pricing, their AI offering, right? Happened late last week. There's definitely some things that I think are positive for customers. There's a potential for the cost profile to be a little bit lower compared to how things were priced out before, which I'll get into. I think they listened in the sense that customers were pushing back pretty heavily on, a conversation being the metric versus an actual result, an action. I think was positive, right? They can maybe measure that. So these things, Salesforce is hoping, is going to remove some of those frictions, remove the hesitancy to adopt their AI offering, to adopt Agentforce, to add that into the portfolios, and to continue to drive revenue through usage. With all that being said, there's still issues, okay? There's still issues that customers need to get ahead of. Customers need to advance conversations with Salesforce around, and before any pen goes to paper, have to be pushed through appropriately in resulting contracts. So let's talk about the changes. So previously, $2 per conversation. There's a lot of content out there. I've spent a lot of time talking about this. That can get very expensive very quickly. On top of that, what is a conversation? Like, that does not seem measurable. It doesn't seem appropriate. The value equation, the ROI conversations that the board members and C-suite members are going to ask for are just not being met. So the new model, flex credits. Okay, so let's start there. Flex credits. There is some flexibility there, which I'll get to in a minute. It's still consumption-based. So everything that I've talked about in the past about the concerns around consumption-based pricing, the flywheel effect, still in relevant, right? So as things continue to be used, if you don't have future pricing, if you don't have volume discount structures, if you don't have transparency and definitions, it's going to spin out of control and you're going to owe Salesforce a lot of money, okay? That's number one. Consumption-based is still there, and it's very intentional. It's tied to actions or results, okay? So an action includes updating customer records, automating complex workflows, resolving cases, right? Actual results versus a conversation. So I commend, again, Salesforce for that change. I still think customers need to pay very close attention, create internal measures for tracking. Now, Salesforce talks about a digital wallet that'll be available to help with that tracking. I still think you have to have internal processes in place to make sure you're still metering, paying attention to, and accounting for current growth and where growth could go. One action consumes 20 flex credits. Now, in a sandbox environment, one action consumes 16 flex credits. So what's a flex credit? How do you acquire them? You buy credits in packs. So 100,000 credits is $500. So think of that as one action is 10 cents. So effectively, if you go buy 100,000 credits for $500, you're getting 5,000 actions. No rollover. Salesforce fine print makes that very clear. And they say, hey, look, there's no penalty if you go over 100,000. You just owe us at the rate in your order form. Well, that rate needs to be clearly defined. There should still be volume discount structures. You should have renewal protections in place. You should still negotiate the 10-cent number, right? So one action is 10 cents based on how they're pricing things. I would highly recommend you have that type of granularity. You push for discounting. You push for those protections. You push for that flexibility. Now, I'd also tell you that Salesforce did a good job on their website, unlike when they had what's a conversation, which, by the way, $2 per conversation, that model is still available to customers. And it may make sense for you. I still highly recommend you negotiate the things accordingly tied to that model that I've covered in the past. But they did a good job relative to actions in this new flex credit option. They have use cases on their website. They have examples on their website. So again, all really good. I would recommend converting into your order form some of those use cases and examples that are relevant to you, right? Making sure the definition of action is relevant to you. Now there's two more changes. Number one, flex agreement. So they've created this model where headcount user base can be swapped for flex credits. Okay, so I would highly recommend, it sounds good, I'd make sure the details, the language, everything is pushed through as you're negotiating this, right? So flexibility on its face sounds good. I would make sure that this is maybe part of your swap rate negotiations, right? Swap for products, volumes. You're likely going to have to maintain a certain annual contract value. You should potentially try to negotiate that, hint, hint. Last update, they talked about a new Agentforce user subscription model, add-on model that's still coming. It's coming in the summer. It's going to be tied to things like sales and service and industry and field service. They're going to be announcing the pricing in the summer as well. They're going to have Agentforce and Agentforce 1 editions. Definitely pay attention. I'll be paying attention. We'll be paying attention. We'll be all over this. But certainly that's something that's interesting, because the bottom line is, from what we're understanding, it's still going to be per user per month, but it's going to come with an unlimited amount of employment-facing agent use. Okay, so that's another model where it's a little bit of a hybrid, which is interesting, right? You can see where they're headed. So again, big changes. Some of them are positive. Devil's in the details. Customers still have to negotiate the right terms as well as the right discounting and still get those commitments that Salesforce owes any customer that's willing to jump on their AA path.